Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together, towards a more militant NALC.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today, we have a short episode. We'll be talking about the distinction between final agreements on an improper LWOP denial and management denying LWOP as an option when you do not have sufficient sick leave balance. I got a Step B decision recently. Not sure if I like certain language in it, but that's the thing about Step B decisions. Even when you win, you'll always have something in there that you do not enjoy. It's kind of bittersweet, but I kind of get it because it's compromised most of the time. This time in particular, they put some language I almost certainly think management will misinterpret for their own benefit. But all of this is beside the point. The point being is that in this case in particular, they have something in there that I didn't realize was at play here, and that was important to mention here today. In this case, the carrier requested sick leave via the online request system, ELRA, which, by the way, I don't know why, but seems like there's been trouble trying to access that lately. They put in 3 separate requests, one for sick and the other 2 for LWOP. 1 day was granted for LWOP, the sick day was granted, and 1 LWOP was changed to annual. When the carrier returned, they put a 3971 in for 1 day of sick leave and 2 days of LWOP. Management denied this request and requested them to sign a modified 3971 for 1 day annual, 1 day sick. The carrier refused. I filed this grievance on the understanding that the LWOP request was denied. So reasonably, I filed this under the information given to you in a prior episode, talking about improper LWOP denial. If you haven't listened to this episode, go check it out. It is episode 7. Essentially, I was basing this off of the 3 considerations enumerated in ELM 514.22, which state that although management has discretion to approve or deny LWOP, that this discretion should weigh against the cost of the service, the needs of the service, and the needs of the employee prior to coming to that decision. Most stewards do not know this information or angle because it is a path seldomly treaded. Yet here in Roseville, I have won this issue at Step B and below, left and right. So the case fit the descriptors. Management proved my case for me by providing information that they did not consider those elements mentioned about when denying the LWOP. There was another factor too, such as information being withheld. I thought for sure I was going to win this one, and I did, only not in the way that I expected. It turns out, Step B decided that yes, I was correct, but not in the way I was thinking. I liked the way they thought, and I thought it was important enough that I made a short episode about it. They said this request does not pertain to a violation of ELM 514.22. In fact, the request was for sick leave, so it pertained to ELM 513.61. They pointed to the fact that in ELM 514, it talks about management having discretion rather than the employee getting it on demand, except as the contract allows. They said in this situation, the request for sick leave was granted, yet the carrier had insufficient balance. As I stated before, the carrier specifically requests by 3971 1 day of sick and 1 day of LWOP. So I didn't think to take this angle, yet I understand why someone would. L 513.61 states in relevant part that if sick leave is approved, but the employee does not have sufficient sick leave to cover the absence, the difference is charged to annual leave or to LWOP at the employee's option. Article 10, Section 5 of the National Agreement echoes this sentiment, stating, charge to annual leave or LWOP at the employee's option, approved absence for which employee has insufficient sick leave. I'll read the decision to have them sum it up in their own words. The DRT has carefully reviewed all the evidence and information included in the case file. If an employee has insufficient sick leave, it is at the employee's option to use annual or LWOP. The employee's option to use LWOP in ELM 513.6 and Article 10.5.b differs from requesting LWOP in ELM 514.22. Management has the discretion to grant LWOP in accordance with ELM 514.22. However, it is not granted on the employee's demand except, underlined and highlighted, as provided in the collective bargaining agreements such as stated in Article 10.5.b and ELM 513.6. Under those circumstances, it is at the employee's option when their sick leave request is approved and they have insufficient sick leave balance. This back and forth kind of scares me because we could be subject to the determination of our higher up powers on what constitutes as approved leave. Like I said, they wrote disapproved on there, but either way, they do give us a legitimate avenue to fight management's ever-growing desire to disapprove our LWOP. This gives me the idea that even when you do not have sufficient leave balance, which the minimum unit charge is 0.01, you should request sick leave or LWOP in lieu of sick leave so long as it fits the criteria set forth in the ELM. The criteria is as follows: illness or injury, pregnancy and confinement, medical, dental, or optical examination or treatment, contagious disease, and medical treatment for a veteran. It doesn't leave you a whole lot of options, but this absolutely will not work when you are requesting it for any other reason. Be prepared to also submit documentation to prove that it was for those reasons. Remember, using sick leave for improper reasons could lead to discipline. If you request sick leave in this situation, and they approve your absence but charge you annual instead of LWOP for the remaining balance, and you requested LWOP, they are in violation of ELM 513.6 and Article 10.5.b, because it is the employee's option to either use LWOP or annual for the remaining balance. One thing to note, what could be a determining factor in what is or isn't considered approved leave isn't necessarily the fact that management wrote denied on the 3971, but what must be considered as well is what they decided to do timekeeping-wise. If they charged you to annual while also denying the LWOP and tried to get you assigned a new 3971, please refuse it. It is the employee who puts in a 3971, and signing one of this nature would actually make it so that you did request what they're trying to tell you you requested. But if they charge you annual, they have approved your absence because in ELM 514.1, it defines what happens when an employee gets leave denied. It states in relevant part, LWOP is different from AWOL, which is a non-pay status due to a determination that no kind of leave can be granted either because 1, the employee did not obtain advance authorization, or 2, the employee's request for leave was denied. Unfortunately, what should be happening in these cases is that management should be charging the carrier with AWOL if they would like to properly deny the leave, not taking it upon themselves to input the carrier for the type of leave they would prefer themselves. They should have informed the carrier that their leave was denied, and they should have investigated whether or not a charge of AWOL was appropriate prior to actually indicating AWOL. This is labor-intensive and confrontational, so management prefers to do things wrong and just charge the carrier to something such as annual. When asked why, many times they will use the excuse that it is because the carrier has an annual balance, which, as you remember from episode 7, is an absolutely wrong thing and a prime example of a blanket leave policy, which is also inappropriate. So essentially, I came on here today to let you know that there's a distinction between ELM 514.22 denials and denials of LWOP in lieu of sick leave. To summarize, ELM 514 talks about the fact that LWOP isn't given by demand except as outlined in collective bargaining agreements. And my Step V team specifically indicated that one such collective bargaining situation that it is given by demand is when it is chosen by the employee's option to be used when they have insufficient sick leave balance. This is important because it also tells you that maybe sometimes you should request sick leave even if you don't have a full balance, because management is likely to approve that leave for another leave status when you are entitled to make the choice between annual or LWOP. Now that sums it up for today. I did say it would be a short one, and it really is. Next week, I'll probably get into an OWCP episode because it is something that someone has been requesting for a long time. So I'm going to hit the books, make sure I don't get anything wrong in that episode, because it is one of those things that is not my strong suit. I've filed many OWCP related grievances. I've helped people out with their cases, but if I'm not, feeling like it's my strong suit, I don't like to talk about it. So I'm going to get my things in order and talk to people who are professionals in that area. And then I'll develop a episode about the basics of OWCP type things. Additionally, Anyone from Region 6, we will be having our Kim training on Columbus Day weekend, as we do every year. I will be there. If you are there and would like to meet me, feel free to talk to me. And also, if you want to give a shout out, I might be doing a recording there at the Kim. Anyone that wants to do a shout out while they're at the Kim training, send me a message and I'll tell you where to find me. I'll likely do this episode in my hotel. Depending on how many people actually want to meet me, we might do a meet and greet, but I doubt it. Hopefully you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day.
Shout out to the Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.
You would think this guy has been around for 30 fucking years. That's how good he is. Yeah, he's like you off the contract.